Alright, welcome back to the garage. I'm Paulie. This is Colton. Grab your cup of coffee, as this is Paulie's Power Hour. Alright, so here's what we're doing today. You'll see we have the bitchin' Camaro in the garage. And you also see that we've got quite a bit of rust where the battery tray usually sits. As in, like, this thing looks like it came up from the Titanic. That's not good. That's not going to support your battery. Fortunately, the aftermarket makes this. You just have to cut it out and weld it in place, which is what we are going to do. There's the welder. Here's us. Let's get to work. So the one thing you want to do is you want to get all the crap out of the way where we're going to be welding. Just look down, you can see. Get this out of the way, all these wires, because we're going to be cutting and welding and throwing sparks, and that's not good. Yeah, but you got to fit that into the wheel well. I don't think this is working. It's not. Is it just spinning? Yeah. That's not good. Alright, so here's what we're looking at. In an unfortunate twist of fate, it looks like the bottom of my core support is kind of rusty too. So I'm going to have to make a patch panel for that later. In the meantime, as I'm trying to get this thing out of here, you can see I've been drilling out these spot welds as I can. But, you know, I'm missing a couple of them. It's not quite going according to plan. I got this side free. This side's free. I need to drill out another spot weld here. I'm actually basically resorting to the point now where I'm getting ready to start. I'm probably just going to cut this out with my saw and then deal with the edge pieces as I go, and then just drill the spot welds as I come across them. Alright, well here we are. Day 2 of this Camaro battery tray process, and I've got my fresh cup of coffee. Alright, so I've had some time to think about this. And here's what's going to happen. We are about to go straight up destructive removal. So I've got my extended cutoff wheel. I am going to cut all of this out and then figure out where all my spot welds are and then drill them out and grind them as I go. Now I did have the forethought to get some weld through primer. Now what this does, it's got a lot of zinc in it, and it will protect the frame underneath as I weld to it. And it will help prevent rust from occurring like this again. So while we're here and we're doing this, let's talk a little bit about safety. And this is one of the things that I will not really waver on. As you can see, that battery tray is bad. Actually, I didn't realize how bad it was until I started messing with it and started punching holes in it. And I knew I had to replace it, so that's why I bought the replacement tray. The battery is dangerous, right? Like, it could zap you. If you're in an accident, it could fly, right? So that's why a hold down is very important. As a matter of fact, if you go racing, all classes of racing, I don't care what kind of racing you do, if it's legal and sanctioned and there is a tech inspection, they will be checking your battery hold down. Every single time I take Kid out to race, I pop the hood, they make sure he's not leaking any fluids, he's not smoking, nothing's crazy happening, and then the next thing they do is they grab that battery and they wiggle it back and forth, because if God forbid something happens, you don't want that battery coming loose, especially a side post where it could go into and start conducting metal, and start a fire, right? That's bad. Okay. So, without further ado, let's get back to cutting. I'm sick of this thing. Let's cut it out and fix it. Well, here we are. I've got everything. The battery tray is completely removed. Now, as you can see, this looks like booty cheeks. All this looks like booty cheeks. And then this looks like booty cheeks. So what I did was I took some cardboard and I made templates. So I'm going to cut this out right here. And then I made this one to cut right here. And then this one with its cute little bend in it goes right here. So now I went and transferred that to metal. I'm going to put this in the vise and use my nifty little body saw to cut that out now. Alright, so here we go. Day 3. I got another fresh cup of coffee. Edition Camaro's right here. We're going to start cutting, grinding, and welding in some new panels. So the one thing you want to keep in mind after you make a patch panel are the edges. So they can be kind of sharp. So I like to go to my grinder and I'll dress the edges all up, make them nice and smooth, and make sure I don't cut my hands. A good pair of gloves and some safety glasses go a long way. Now this extra little step was going to ensure that when I handle these and I'm going to put them in, that I'm not going to cut my hands on them. Because now all these edges have been deburred and they're not sharp anymore. Now the next step is to make sure that the corrosion is gone from the back of each piece that you're working on. So all this rust back here, I want to get rid of that. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start marking where everything's going to go, right? So that's going to go right there. So this is going to be the front. F for front. Now, I do that because I'm going to go and prime the back of this with that weld through primer. And I'm going to do that now on each of these because I'm not going to be able to do that once it's in the car, once I burn it in, right? So, there we go. So I should say top. And then that's the right, that's the left. And make sure the stuff is shaking really well. And this is my galvanized weld through primer. So I'm going to hit the back of these because, like I said, once this is burned in, I'm not going to be able to get to these surfaces. And I want to make sure that these don't rust to prevent this problem from happening again. Oh, wow, that really comes out of there. So now we just let that dry. So the implements of destruction that I'm choosing, my extended cutoff wheel and my body saw. Let's make some noise. So here we go, final test fit time before we burn this in. So this is going to sit just like this. It's going to keep the factory look. This one fits just like this. It keeps the factory look. And last but not least, this little guy. This little guy goes right here. So this one is burned in, as you can see. You'll notice that I did not lay what people call like a row of dimes or a row of nickels. That's because when you're welding thin metal like this for bodywork purposes, you want to like tack it here, tack it over there, tack it back here, tack it back over there. You want to keep that heat moving around, otherwise this will warp. Now this is under the hood and it's going to be covered by the battery tray, so am I really that worried about it? Not really, but it's just, you know, technique, and you got to keep your techniques up, right? So now you'll notice I have this one held in place with a magnet, and then I'm going to get a couple of tacks probably in this corner, and then right here, and then right here, and then here, and then I'm going to start forming it with my body hammer here, because if you'll notice, there's a curve right here where the wheel well starts to curve. So I'm going to start forming it to that, and then I'm going to use my body hammer to kind of knock this down, because I have a dolly up here somewhere, a body dolly, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, and then this will be flush with this will be curved, and then this will all be nice one piece. Grind this out, cover it with the battery tray, and you'll never know that I was in here doing this work. Alright, so you can see I had a little bit of an issue back here, but that's fine. I did, like I said, contour this, so this is all nice and strong. It's all one piece, so is this, and then so is this right here, which is still kind of warm. But so now to break out the grinder, dress these welds, and then I'm going to show you my neat trick for putting holes for spot welds in sheet metal that you're going to spot weld in. Let's take a quick second and we're going to talk about welding. My hair is probably a mess. So if you look at my welder here, you'll see that I have a wire speed setting and a volt setting. Now this welder uses wire speed from 1 to 10 and then arc volts from A to J. Some other welders have it, you know, by actual amperage. But here is how, so we were welding something about that thick. All right, we're using a 0.25 diameter solid steel wire with 75 to 80% argon. So that was E4, and if you look, I had it set to E and 4. Okay, so what does that mean? So welding is like a dance between three people. You've got your volts, you got your wire speed, and then you've got your substrate or your metal that you're welding. So what happens is when you pull the trigger, okay, voltage shoots through, which actually melts the metal, and you're filling it with the wire. Here. So if you have too much voltage, you're just going to blow right through that and you're going to make a hole, which happens when your metal gets a little thin, right? Conversely, if you have too much wire speed, when you pull the trigger, it's just going to shoot wire into it like a guy just running through a door, right? And then the voltage is the same way. You pull the trigger, it's going to blow right through that metal like someone running through a door. So think of your 3 people. You're dancing, right? And your wire speed has to be right, your voltage has to be right, and your metal has to be right. If not, then someone's going to the wire speed's too high, they're going to step on someone's feet. You're just going to push the metal out of the way, and you're just going to have a whole bunch of wire going everywhere. So it's important to do your research and know what kind of metal you're welding, the thickness, and your manufacturer's recommended settings. Like I have that nifty little chart in my welder from Eastwood. And yeah, and as you can see, it works out pretty well. So there you go. A little quick tip about welding. Now with the majority of my grinding done, you see how this is going to look, right? So I'm fitting the tray. I've tweaked that out a little bit so that fits. Now what I like to do is I like to keep these like model paint pens around, because obviously this is black, right? So a Sharpie's not really going to work. So I started marking where I'm going to put the holes for my spot welds or my rosette welds. And then, you know, so this is going to sit basically just like that. So it might seem a little crazy to start, you know, just slapping this thing in a vise since it's, you know, brand new and everything. But I'm trying to get it to fit the way I need it to fit. So we're just going to kind of tweak that a little bit. There we go. Might need to tweak just a little bit more. It's a little bit of a gap right here. I'm going to tweak that out some more. So you'll notice that everything's pretty much dressed. This is how it's going to be. I've cleaned it. I've masked everything off that I don't want to paint. And I'm going to hit this now with some of that weld through primer. There we go. Let that dry, and that will protect this metal as I weld to it. So you'll notice that I've already started grinding this down because I'm obviously going to prime this with some weld through primer. I'm not going to touch the bottom because, as you've seen, there's a giant hole to the ground. So once this is all welded in and cooled off, I can climb underneath there, scuff this, and paint this, which is what I'm going to do. But I won't be able to paint this or anything like, or you know, anything underneath here for that matter. So I'm going to go ahead and put my holes in it with this. This is a crimper or a hole puncher. The way this works, you put it on here just like a hole punch, and it makes a hole. Now I've got all my holes for all my rosette welds. The other way you can do it, of course, with a drill bit and a vise, but that takes forever. You saw how quickly this went. And this is a Century pneumatic, so I did buy this at my local Harbor Freight. A little bit of overspray is not really going to hurt anything, especially on the bottom here, because once I get underneath it, I'll be able to paint it and do whatever I need to with it. So now we're in a holding pattern. We got to wait for the car to dry, and we got to wait for this to dry. Maybe I'm going to eat some lunch. Alright, all my patches are in, everything's dressed, everything's primered. So now it's time to start just welding this thing into place. it's in, and as you can see, when I pull up on it, I'm actually moving the entire car. So that tells me we done good here today. Filled these holes up. I did tack it right here because I wasn't sure if it reached all the way through. So now it's time to prime and paint. And there we go. Now it's finished, painted, and nice. I know I need to replace the bottom of this core support. That's going to happen. I'm actually already looking for cars in the junkyards right now. And when I go to paint this, I'm going to take the fenders off. I'm going to take the nose off, you know, the headlights and everything. So I'll be able to get to this, and I'll be able to cut that out and weld new the core support back in and return it to 100% stock. But that's a problem for another day. Once this paint's dry, I can drop the battery back in here and make sure I didn't blow up any wiring. Clear this off the rest of the way. Now, in theory, without me doing anything else, this thing should start and run. Dome light's on, so I got juice. Well, there we go. Some might say that what we did doesn't require a test drive, but I figure what the heck. Who needs an excuse to drive the car, right? Alright, well, now that that's all done, I freshened up my cup of coffee a little bit here. And yeah, so here we are. Garage is pretty much cleaned up. Kit's back in here. I was checking some things on him. And there's the bitchin' Camaro with her fresh battery tray. Also, if you'll notice, there's a cherry picker in here. And let me show you why. This is very exciting, because in the coming weeks, we will be putting this into my buddy's 1977 Chevrolet Corvette. Yes, this is a 355 cubic inch engine, small block Chevy, of course. And yeah, it's gonna be really good once we put it in. Probably makes around 420 to the crank. So yeah, not bad at all, if I do say so myself. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this welding and fabricating and grinding and cutting and stuff. And you know, I have fun every time I do it, and just like painting, I learn something new every time I do it. I'm just glad that it worked out. I have a sturdy battery tray, and my battery tray is not going to fall apart on the highway. Actually, you want to see what's left of the old one? This is literally what is left. That's it. Battery would have fallen out on the highway. No bueno. So, I think it's time for me to go and eat some dinner. So I hope you all had a good time here. Thanks for coming out and hanging out. It was a blast. Tell all your friends, hit like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff that makes this channel great, because without you,
there is no channel. So I thank you again for taking your time to hang out with me and watch this video. And if there's something you want to see, or something different you want to try, hit me up in the comments. Let me know. Give me some feedback. We can do different things. There's gonna be some stuff coming up this spring and summer with this, and definitely some autocrossing. And stay tuned, because you're gonna see a whole lot of Malibu content. Sorry, Malibu, because it's the Malibu, built by Hot Rod Garage. You're going to see a lot of Malibu content coming up soon too. A lot of tech, getting it ready, going over the car, eventually going to register it finally, and all that stuff. And autocrossing. I'm going to take it autocrossing just to see what happens. So yeah, stay tuned. But yeah, definitely like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. And I'm Paulie. Y'all keep it between the ditches, and you come back and see me.